Some people will drain your soul, and it won't look like a crime. You'll call it kindness, you'll think you're doing the right thing. Until one day, you wake up completely emptied, burnt out, emotionally tangled in someone else's chaos and wondering, how did I get here? But what if I told you? It wasn't their fault. It was yours for helping the wrong people. And this isn't just some moral story about being too nice. According to Carl Jung, this is shadow work. And the truth? It might sting. Most people were never taught how to help. We were just told to be kind, to give, to care, and never expect anything in return. But here's what no one tells you. Kindness without consciousness becomes self-destruction. If you're someone who's emotionally intelligent, spiritually aware, and always trying to do the right thing, you're exactly the kind of person who gets trapped helping the wrong ones. You help because it's your nature, but you've probably already learned some people don't want to be helped. Some will take, and it will never be enough. And here's where Carl Jung's lens becomes a mirror. Let's break it open. Type number 1, the people who want everything for free. Not just money free, but effort free, energy free, and accountability free. Helping them doesn't just waste your time, it messes with your entire energetic balance. It violates what Carl Jung would call the law of psychic compensation, a kind of psychological karma. Give too much without balance, and your psyche starts to split. We're not talking about being greedy. We're talking about physics, emotional and spiritual physics. Every act of giving creates an energetic bond. And when you don't receive anything back, whether that's money, gratitude, transformation, or even honest effort, you unconsciously absorb their baggage. You take on their problems, their fears, and their unresolved traumas. And worse, if they didn't even ask for your help, you've crossed a soul boundary. Jung would call this the awakening of your shadow, that part of you that fears being unnecessary, invisible, and unloved. So you help, not because they need it, but because you need to feel needed. But this isn't compassion. This is codependency dressed up as virtue. And every time you insert yourself into someone's life uninvited, you interrupt their karma, their lessons, and their path. You rob them of the experience they needed to grow, and instead, you carry it. That's how you end up stuck, helping others, but losing yourself. And here's the hardest truth. It's forbidden to help those who won't meet you halfway, because kindness without boundaries isn't healing, it's harm. Type number 2, people who refuse to self-reflect. You've seen this before. The friend who keeps dating the same type of person and crying over the same heartbreak again. The sibling who blames the world but never questions their role in the chaos. The co-worker who creates drama like it's their side job. These are the people Jung warned us about, those who reject the process of individuation, meaning they refuse to face their shadow, their unconscious patterns, their inner contradictions. Instead, they project. And when someone is stuck in projection, they'll always make you the problem. You offer insight, you're judging them. You hold a boundary, you're cold. You stop enabling, you're abandoning them. It's not that these people are evil, it's that they are emotionally frozen. Jung believed the shadow, our hidden instincts, repressed memories, buried pain, is the key to transformation. But only if we choose to look at it. When someone won't reflect, they stay locked in their victimhood. Their identity becomes their suffering. And when you try to help them, you become the container for their chaos. The more you offer solutions, the more they resist. Because they don't want clarity, they want comfort in the confusion. So what happens next? You become their scapegoat. And suddenly, you're the reason they're not healing. You're the one who's too much, or not enough. You start walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around their triggers while they explode and blame and spiral and expect you to clean it up. This is why Jung said, Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Helping someone who refuses to reflect is like planting seeds in concrete. You'll wear yourself out before they grow. Type number 3, people who want to be saved. Now, this one hurts, because it looks like pain. It looks like someone truly broken, in need, lost and desperate. And if you're a healer or an empath, you'll want to step in. But Carl Jung had a warning for this too. He said rescuing someone who isn't ready disrupts their psychological development. It actually stunts their growth. These are the perpetual victims, the ones who say they want help, but they don't want to change. They want to be saved. They want a hero, a fixer, a caretaker. And when you accept that role, it activates your own inner archetype. Maybe it's the healer or the martyr, but whatever it is, it's your ego disguised as compassion. You feel needed, and for a while it feels good, but slowly their pain becomes your problem. You start living their life, solving their crises, carrying their emotional load, and still, nothing changes. Because this kind of person isn't looking for transformation. They're looking for escape from responsibility, from accountability, and from the mirror. And just like with type number 2, they'll eventually resent you, because your help reminds them of what they're not doing for themselves. It makes them feel incapable, ashamed, dependent, and that creates a quiet war inside them. A war they'll turn against you. This is how you end up exhausted, confused, and emotionally manipulated, thinking, how did I become the bad guy when all I did was care? You didn't become the bad guy. You just volunteered to help someone who hadn't asked life for help yet. Type number 4, people who use help as a weapon. At first, they look just like the others. They seem to want your support, your insight, and your presence. But there's a difference. They don't just take, they twist. This is the manipulator archetype. And in Jungian terms, it's someone ruled by their unintegrated shadow, envy, greed, narcissism, or jealousy. They've buried their insecurities so deeply that instead of owning them, they project them as control. So when you help them, they don't feel grateful, they feel powerful. They'll guilt you. After everything I've been through, you owe me. They'll trap you in obligation. Remember when you said you'd always be there for me? They'll rewrite the story so your help becomes proof of their superiority or leverage to control you later. In Carl Jung's language, they've identified with a false self. They use others as mirrors to avoid seeing their own shadow. Helping them doesn't transform, it feeds the shadow, and the more you give, the more you're pulled into their game. A game you can't win, because the rules change every time you think you've figured them out. Think of it like lending money to someone who never pays back. But instead of dollars, they borrow your empathy, your energy, your sanity. And when you finally set a boundary, they'll accuse you of betrayal. So why not help them? Because you're not in their healing journey, you're in their strategy, and your role is just another pawn. Type number 5, people who reject reality. Now, this is where Jung's work cuts to the core. He believed transformation requires confronting both the light and the dark of existence. We must face the unconscious, the ugly truths, the shadow material. That's the path toward wholeness. But some people, they refuse, they deny, distort, and live in fantasy. Maybe it's the family member who insists everything is fine, even when it's falling apart. Or the friend who rejects every hard truth and instead builds castles in the clouds. Or the partner who gaslights reality itself, because admitting the truth would shatter their fragile self-image. Helping these people is like throwing a lifeline to someone who doesn't believe the ocean exists. They'll deny the water while drowning in it. And here's the trap. They don't want rescue. They want company in their illusion. You'll point out the fire. They'll say it's just warmth. You'll show them the cracks. They'll say it's character. You'll beg them to face the truth, and they'll call you negative or toxic for trying. So why you shouldn't help them? because they'll drag you into their dream world and punish you for breaking the illusion. Carl Jung warned, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And if you step into that avoidance, you don't just lose them, you lose yourself. When you look at all these 5 types, there's a common thread running through them. They all reject responsibility for their own lives. And that's the real danger, because when you help someone who refuses responsibility, you don't just give them your energy, you give them your power. You step into their story, and suddenly their wounds, their illusions, their shadows become yours. But here's the thing, not all help is destructive. In fact, when given to the right people, help is one of the most sacred, transformative forces in the world. We've seen who not to help. Now, let's flip it. Of course, there are people you can help, the ones who will grow, heal, and evolve from your presence. The ones where your help becomes a ripple of real transformation, not a chain of suffering. So who are these people? They are the ones willing to meet you halfway, the ones who take responsibility for their lives, even if it's messy. They're not perfect. They may stumble, relapse, cry, doubt, but they own it. And because they own it, every bit of help you give them multiplies. When you support someone like this, you're not carrying them, you're walking beside them. And that difference changes everything. These are the people who ask for help consciously. Not out of desperation, not to be rescued, but because they're ready to face their shadow. They understand that receiving support is part of their growth. They practice self-reflection. They might not always like what they see, but they're willing to look in the mirror. They don't run from their pain. They're learning to sit with it. They value the exchange. They don't drain you. They give back in gratitude, effort, reciprocity. Even if they can't repay you in the same form, you feel the energy flow back. They welcome truth. They don't punish you for honesty. They know reality is the path to healing, even when it hurts. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that's who you should help, the people committed to that journey. Because when you help someone walking their path of individuation, you're not interfering with their lessons. You're amplifying their courage. And something beautiful happens when you give your energy here. It expands. Instead of draining you, it fills you. Because you're not fighting against resistance, you're aligned with growth. Think of it this way, helping the wrong person is like pouring water into a cracked vessel. It leaks, it's wasted, and eventually you're empty. But helping the right person is like watering a seed. The growth doesn't just stay with them, it blossoms outward. Their healing touches their family, their community, and the world. This is the sacred exchange. This is what Jung meant by balance. True helping is not about rescuing or controlling. It's about sharing energy with those who are ready to rise. So, if you take nothing else from this, remember, your kindness is a powerful medicine. Don't waste it on those who weaponize it, deny it, or refuse to reflect. Protect it. Offer it where it grows. Because when you choose wisely who to help, you're not just saving energy. You're creating transformation that echoes far beyond you. And that's the real secret. It's not about helping more. It's about helping right. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a short affirmation in the comments, something that resonates with this journey. Something like, "My energy is sacred, and I choose wisely who I give it to." Because affirmations aren't just words, they're declarations of how you choose to live. And if this video opened something inside you, if it gave you clarity about your relationships and your energy, hit subscribe to Fractal Wisdom. Together, we're exploring psychology, spirituality, and higher consciousness in a way that protects your peace and expands your mind. Your energy is sacred. Guard it, share it wisely, and watch your life transform.